Good morning, everyone. Am I on? Okay.
On.
Am I on? Good. Thank you for coming. I am either lucky or scared to be able to facilitate this panel with my friends who are very knowledgeable about how do you build an intelligent health system. Rusty will say he had to Google it, but I don't know if that's exactly true. So for folks who don't know me, I'm Theresa Meadows. I've been in healthcare probably as long as healthcare has been invented. I'm a previous CIO from Cook Children's in Fort Worth, and now I am the CIO in residence at symplr. And I spend my time advising the company on how to work with our customers and build better product and hopefully build things that our customers and clinicians need. So I'm happy to be here. Saad, maybe you'll go next. Introductions?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Saad Chaudhry. I am the Chief Digital and Information Officer for SSM Health. We're based out of St. Louis. We're a Catholic health system spanning 4 states. Happy to be here. And I should tell you that we were making this joke that this is an intelligent health system panel, and I have no business being on this panel. So it's a bit of an oxymoron.
You're like the anchor for all of us. Are you kidding?
I'm the anchor.
My name's Matt
hold
Kull.
us down.
I'm the Chief Information and Digital Officer at Innova Health in Northern Virginia.
Hey everybody, I'm Rusty Yeager, the Chief Information Officer at Encompass Health, and I actually went to ChatGPT to figure out what intelligence meant, and what it told me was intelligence when you know a lot about something, but if you're smart, you know how to apply it. So I don't know where that takes me because I didn't even know what it was to begin with.
Well, all right. Well, we're gonna jump in here. What we're going to try to talk about today is really what is intelligence, what's a smart health system, and what is the backbone with data and governance and operations, and how do you use those tools to really build a resilient health system that can meet the needs of our patients and the families that we work with. All right, so here comes the hard part. I want each of you to kind of give us your definition of an intelligent health system. Rusty tried, but we're going to make him work a little bit harder than he just did. So maybe in one sentence, tell me what you think it is, Saad.
I think an intelligent health system knows what it's not and has very definitive goals to build that foundation to get to a place where they can understand what's available to them.
So I think an intelligent health system is a system that senses and self-reacts to get to the smart health system that we all want to be.
When I think about intelligent health system, what I see as the vision is a health system that relies upon information and optimized processes that are digital ready to make autonomous decisions throughout its day-to-day activity.
Wonderful. So, hey, Matt, so maybe tell us when you're thinking about that, what are some of the outcomes you're trying to achieve as you're building an intelligent health system?
So we focus specifically on 3 really core items to our business. Unburdening human work, taking the busy work out of what we do every day, creating access and improving outcomes, and then arriving to cash collection faster. We think that intelligent systems, when you start thinking about orchestration platforms, are ready for those activities. Some of the more sort of shiny things, I think we're getting there, and we spend a lot of time trying to avoid like theatrical innovation.
Oh, I want to ask so much more about that, but what about you, Saad? Like, what are some of the things that you're thinking about from an outcomes perspective?
So we're about 4.5 minutes in, so I'm going to mention AI.
Oh. We had a bet going.
There's a poly market, side market on this. So the way I think about this is we all want what's on the horizon that's going to make us better. And of course, AI is here. It's not on the horizon anymore. The thing is, there's so much noise out there, and to figure out exactly how you position an entire organization to avail of it in every possible way is kind of a fool's errand some days. And it's akin to, how many of you had the first generation, the very first iPhone when it came out? Raise of hands. There's a few of you. This is a trick question. I want to date everybody in the crowd, right? Now I figured out which generation I'm in. So you remember when the iPhone first came out? If you held that in your hands and I said one day you'll be able to hit one of those buttons and a car will show up a few feet from you, it'll have no driver in it, you'll get in, it'll take you where you need to go, there'll be no exchange of cash, credit card information, nothing, and that's it, you would have called me an idiot. Because at those points, we were still playing around with apps that were just fun, the virtual dice or the Zippo lighter on the screen. That was the bird. Oh, actually, that came later. So that was a utility. And for us to now assume that we know exactly what we need to build in the health system structurally, operationally, to take advantage of AI and where it's going to head, I think, to me, somebody perhaps not as intelligent as my panelists, it's a bit of a fool's errand. But what is not a fool's errand is if somebody around iPhone 1 said, hey, everything's going to be mobile. So whatever we have, we need to make sure it's going to be compact, it's going to be able to run on mobile devices. That would have been great. That would have been positioning for a healthy, intelligent ecosystem. And that analogy applies to health systems as well, I believe. So if we start positioning ourselves at a foundational level to take advantage of what we don't even know is going to head our way, I think we'll get there. We'll get smarter and smarter and get to intelligence. But if we start thinking, hey, we're going to take this one point bet here, it's a pilot that may not scale, get a press release over here, but it doesn't actually give any time back to the care providers or the patients, I don't know if we can call that intelligent.
Rusty, what would you add?
So there was a reimbursement component, I think, in the first part of the question. And our reimbursement's different from the acute care hospitals. It's quality-based. So we actually started doing AI, if you can call machine learning AI, I think you can, back in 2015, concentrating on the things that improved our quality. And it really has. And we did it with our friends from Cerner. And now we're embarking on something that I want to call real intelligence. So other people are kind of calling that augmented intelligence, but I call that just real intelligence. And I mentioned it to our board one time, and that really resonated with them because I think they didn't understand that we're still taking our clinical knowledge against this AI to improve long-term the patient care that we're providing. So I believe that we can get to a better place using our humans and our computers to do what they need to do. And never lose sight of that, and we'll be fine with that.
Matt looks like he had a burning comment.
So I might be a little more bullish on this AI stuff than you are. I was in a focus group yesterday, and I saw a pitch deck talking about using AI to improve your call center, which I think is a very good effort today, but it showed savings on a 3 to 5 year horizon. Do we all think call centers are going to exist in 5 years? Because at 5 years, it should be 100%. I think we are underestimating how fast this is coming and what it's going to do to the way we work. 3 years ago, the first language model, when ChatGPT hit the ground, couldn't do basic math. Like more than 2 parameters, it failed every time. Today, it passes the bar exam. There's real changes coming. We look at the car, as you said, you push a button on your phone and a car shows up. Keep in mind, everything that's happening on your Tesla that full self drives at about 8x safer than a human driving it is happening locally on a 4-core chip. Like, the scale of this stuff is growing so quickly. I think that if we're not thinking about what a world looks like where there are no unautomated language skill activities in our environments, we're sorely missing the boat.
And, my favorite thing is to be contrarian with Matt.
Now this is my kind of panel. Let's go.
There's another perspective to that reality, and that is, and I'm going to stick to my analogy of iPhones. So, by the way, I am not an iPhone user. I'm that annoying person that has the green bubbles, right? Everybody, and Matt wants to kick me out of every group chat we're in. I think we're up to iPhone 15. What's the latest? 15, 16?
17.
See that? Yeah. I can't keep up with it because I don't use it, right? But let's just imagine that instead of coming out every year, an iPhone was coming out every month, every week, heck, every day. Would you be able to keep up with what features were coming out? Would you even know the variations of iPhone that are out today? You won't even know the number, right? That's how fast AI is progressing. And for us to assume that we have a complete grasp on every single facet of this and know exactly how to utilize it, again, I think is a fool's errand. It's progressing way faster than even the companies that produce this AI know what it can do. Every day you're hearing about, oh, we didn't realize our AI could do that. So now we're going to modify our approach to XYZ. I do believe and agree with Matt that we are headed towards a cliff where things that can be automated will be automated so fast. I was in a focus group where we were talking about development. And somebody talked about, well, how do you do AI governance in a health system for a product that is utilizing AI for development? And I said, what product is not going to utilize AI-based development? Actually, what product is not today? So that's a little bit of a fool's errand. I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you after this monologue. I don't know if there's a definitive way to say we can get ahead of this and we know exactly how to utilize it. But I do know that to say that I can predict it and have a 3-year horizon or a 5-year horizon, that's just making yourself feel more comfortable in an environment that is very uncomfortable.
I think any prediction you do, you got to follow the money. And in AI, I think who has the data is the gold. And right now, I think those are the big application providers. So are we going to be in an agentic world where we got 42 subscriptions for different things? Or are we going to our big application providers that are going to build it into the workflow? Which I kind of think may be the next step, and Oracle, Epic, they're all doing that. So it's agentic within this workflow that we're used to using. So I'm probably intermediate bullish on that situation for the future. To your point, I can't go more than 5 years on that prediction.
Yeah.
I like the follow the money thing because you're right. And if you look at what happened when Anthropic released Opus 4.5 and showed how this thing can vibe code and looked at the total portfolio of SaaS, publicly traded SaaS companies, since that announcement, they're down 20%. The money knows.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys are bringing up really interesting points. And the crossroads in that is, organizations really have to know their data, understand their data. And so what do you think in an organization, and I hate this word, should be standardized or consistent to really start to allow the maximum flexibility for these models? Because we could over-engineer the data to the point that the models won't be flexible enough. So what do you think are some of the things that we should really think about standardization or consistency on? Maybe Saad, I'll start with you.
So at SSM, we love the word consistency instead of standardization. I have some folks in the back that are nodding. This is an internal journey we've been on. We say consistent instead of standard. If everybody in the audience is not tired of me using analogies, I got more coming. The analogy I want to use here is you buy this beautiful home that's 100 years old and you say, I want to get one of those smart thermostats that I can control with my voice, that's AI-based, knows exactly what I want each room temperature to be. And then you realize this home does not have central air conditioning, right? So buying that smart thermostat that will do all the AI-based stuff for you, that's like a couple $100. Putting in central air, that's going to take months. It's going to cost thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. And you're not even going to see the result because it'll be in the walls. That's the hard part. That's the consistent standardization stuff. And ironically, it's so hard because humans are so difficult to deal with. Because when you say to a person doing caring for a patient in Oklahoma, hey, I need you to do this workflow this way, and there's a person in downtown St. Louis treating patients, they say, well, this doesn't work for us. So you have to figure out those human elements. You have to figure out the workflows, the operations, the dirty stuff, the installation of the ducts in your walls and the HVAC system before you can get that shiny thermostat that handles everything with AI for you. To me, that is the critical path. And that's where standardization is, the way the work gets done.
How about you, Matt? What do you think?
So we try very hard to avoid the word standardization. We use the word systemness. And why we use the word systemness is because we want any patient who comes to any one of our hospitals to have the same experience and the same outcome of care. From our perspective, when we think about standardization, we think about standardization of process and standardization of approach. Our approach is simple. We organize the people, we remove the wasted effort, we optimize the effort that has to be done so that it's ready for digitization, and then we apply technology to it in that order with no variability. And the approach allows us to have consistent outcomes. When I think about like how we hardwire clinical processes to digital technology, look at hip fracture. The national standard for hip fracture is 3 days to surgery and 2 months before you're walking again. You come to Inova with a hip fracture, you're going to have surgery in 1 day, you're going to discharge to the home the next day, and then you're going to be walking again in 2 weeks. Because we've hardwired these gold standard processes. So when we think of standardization, it's really systemness. At any location that you come to with a hip fracture, you're going to get exactly the same treatment. You're going to have a measurable outcome, and it will be the same regardless of where you go. And I think that's really how we have to approach these things, is standardized approach, not necessarily standardize the way everyone walks across the hall.
So we got a continuum from kind of standard to really standard to that's all we do, standard. And we're a lot less complex, but when you standardize, you're actually more efficient because why? You can change things faster. So if you've got this dynamic opportunity within a market, you're flexible. So back in 2010, we started putting in an EMR, we standardized it, and then we got this little mantra that we use. So you standardize your process, you automate your process, and when you do that, what do you get? You get data at scale, and then you get the ability to scale. And then if you can push that back into the workflow, then you keep the process standard. And that has enabled us to really grow our company over the last 5 years where we can just go to a new market and bring up a hospital in 8 months and it's up and running, 8 to 12 months, and it's up and running just like the other 172. So the morning we open up the hospital, we know the KPIs that this hospital and that hospital, and we can compare them, and then we can really use that for the learning loop. So it is, we're not near as standardized, but maybe you use that in one of those departments, which I'm sure you guys are doing. It really allows you to use that data because it's all standardized.
Now, there is a chance that we're being those curmudgeon CIOs that, repeat the same stuff when new things are coming up because we can't predict the future. Because there's a possibility that AI, generative AI specifically, leaps so far that you don't need to standardize, that it can just deal with the spaghetti underneath it far better and far easier than the effort we would have to expend to piece by piece by piece standardize. There is absolutely that possibility. And the only reason that possibility scares me a little bit, I'm a programmer by trade, which is, I'm not a good programmer. There's people in this crowd that I know that are far better programmers than me. So if you have ever seen AI-based programming and you decide to open it at the code level, AI writes code for itself. A human programmer will find it very difficult to troubleshoot an AI code. Now, the question is, why would you ever need to? And you don't, really. But what I think about that is that if we start taking leaps, the whole argument about unstructured data in healthcare, 80% data being unstructured, well, AI can help with that, right? So if AI can cover up the spaghetti of complexity at a health system to bring you standardization force meal, there's a chance that if you need to do something with that after and look under the hood, you won't understand it. You won't understand how your systems got standardized. You won't understand how it imposed a level of workflow standardization across your board. And maybe that's okay. Maybe in the future, we're all going to be dealing with AI that deals with AI that deals with AI, and so it's AI's all the way down, and it's okay. But that does scare me, the programmer in me.
Yeah, that's a really good transition. So how do you guys deal with what's reality versus what's hype when we're talking about AI? Because there's lots of products who tout they have AI. what process do you have to sort of vet product and know that that's something that will improve an outcome versus just be another cool, fancy thing added to the portfolio? Maybe Matt, we'll start with you.
So we're really stepping away from the capital-intensive type of projects. We're looking at things that build scale, that build results, that build ROI in 6 months or less. We have eliminated the pilot factory, no more. Like, people show up, you've got a product, we'll put it in. You go at risk on that product. If it does what you say, I'm super happy to make a transaction. But we also buy for being successful in that project. We're not trying to pay a tax every single time we become more successful and we scale. We're trying to build things that allow our business to sort of break this cost curve between the cost of operations and the growth of our organization. Because historically, if anybody's at a hospital, that's been correlated like an R2 of 1 for probably the last 20 or 30 years. Every $1 billion worth of revenue you increase, you add $1 billion of operating expense. And so what we're looking to do is really break that, and we're breaking that through things that scale quickly, things that are fast, things that will keep up with the market, that are not capital heavy. If something is going to take more than 6 months to implement, honestly, it's probably not for us.
How about you, Rusty? How do you think about it?
So back in 2015 or so, we started looking at things. What do we do in IT to support our caregivers, and what should we buy? And for the most part, we're going to buy things, and especially when it comes to AI. We can't afford a bunch of data scientists to be doing this work. We want to buy things that integrate with the things that we've already have that will work. So we typically will go with a big vendor to do those things. Now, we do have things that are very different from what the big vendors sell, and so we need to work with them to make those better for us. But we're going to buy things. And, we're here to support our caregivers, not to be IT people, and that's what we're going to do for the near term because it just works.
How about you, Saad? How do you think about it?
Do you all have those smart lights in your home that you can control with the apps, right? A lot of nods. So I've got like string lights in the backyard you can do that stuff with. And then we bought a new Christmas tree because I was tired of replacing those darn bulbs. I was like, we want LED, and now they're smart and you can control them from your phone as well. My wife says to me, I am tired of installing apps that control lights on my phone. Right? So yes, we're intelligently trying to be very discerning in getting AI features and tools into our organization. But if I give our organization's executives 12 apps to control LED lights, they're not going to think very highly of me, and they're not going to be very happy themselves. Now, there's people in this room or hall that are going to say, I've got an AI to control those AIs. Again, that's what I meant. AI is all the way down. Maybe that is the future. Yeah, maybe all my lights can be controlled by an AI, and I don't care who makes them on Amazon or anywhere else. But currently, that's not the case. And currently, that would be a huge shift of thinking. So the way we're approaching AI is, yes, we may give up some fancy features. We may give up some complex sort of operations on top. But if this works through existing channels and makes our foundation a little bit more automated, where currently we know for a fact it's not, that's a good investment of our bandwidth.
Great point.
100%. And so, we've talked a lot about, automation. We need to be consistent or standardized. We want to provide as much flexibility as possible. We want to make sure it's intelligent and providing the outcome we think. With all the technology, is there still a way to future-proof your organization to be able to move to the next level as you go through this process of learning what happens? So, Matt, you look like you're excited about that question.
Shorter agreements.
Shorter agreements.
That's the way. I mean, and I think that this is actually an important topic to talk about. I've had this conversation a lot recently as renewals come up, and these 5-year, 7-year lock-ins, frankly, it's not going to work anymore. And it's not going to work because the technology, as Saad said, is changing almost daily. And it's like, if you want to reduce my option to switch and continue to be the best product in the market that you were when we selected you, but these lock-ins have got to go away. I mean, frankly, because your companies are getting gobbled up so fast, core players are coming in. You look at like what's happening with Epic. Epic's releasing Ambient Scribe. Epic's releasing outbound calling. Epic's releasing all these things. Now, it's going to be a minute before they're as good as what's currently out there, but you better continue to innovate in front of that, and to keep me not wanting to switch to a core platform, because I think the core platform plays, frankly, they've got massive scale from an R&D perspective. They're very quick to innovate, and their products are becoming very inexpensive add-ons. We try to keep a flexible approach to how we procure, and that allows us to pivot when we need to.
How about you, Rusty? How do you think about
So I think it
future-proofing?
circles back to the first part of our conversation, where if you're standardized, you can be flexible. And so if you're future-proofing, what do you need to be? You're going to be flexible so that you can do that. I think one thing you always got to reflect on, though, is you can't outsource your brain. And so make sure you keep that with you at all times.
No outsourcing of the brain side. What do you think you can do here?
I could use that, though, really. Do y'all remember when BYOD was a big deal? Bring your own device. You remember that? People like me in suits like mine wanted to control every device that was on the network and be like, no, I don't know if, I'm going to let you. Can you imagine anybody doing that today? That you can't bring your own device and put it on a Wi-Fi network? Could you imagine that? So right now, people like me, and I'm saying people like me that are not as intelligent as people like these, we're trying to control all these things with contracts, with SLAs, with governance committees, and all these things. And it's working. It's slow. It can be frustrating, but it's working. But the future probably looks like a BYOD. The future kind of like looks like we got to just release the reins and just try to keep our environment secure in the meantime. We figured it out with devices. I'm confident we can do it here. The issue is we just don't know how this is going to progress. With devices, we could have a linear graph to say this is where it's going to go. We don't know where this is going to go. That's the risk. The risk isn't that we're going to somehow stop this from proliferating. It's happening. Whether we like it or not, it's proliferating in our environment. The secret is, how do we have the same approach as BYOD, where we can still keep it secure?
Yeah, security's a whole nother panel on AI. So now we're going to have a little fun. All right. What would be your one word to describe intelligent operations? One word. It could have hyphens.
Looking at me.
I'm looking at you, Rusty. This is the test.
I hate this, but they're efficient.
Efficient. Okay. How about you, Matt? What would be your one word?
Uncharted.
Uncharted.
Can I cheat with a hyphen?
Absolutely.
So there's no hyphen. Brilliant basics.
Brilliant basics. That's
The basics
2 words,
are
but
brilliant.
okay. I'll give you the.
This is generated by AI.
You know, as you've been working with your teams on AI, what would be one word that your team would say about you? When you're thinking about AI, how would they describe you? One word.
Well, my team's in this crowd, and they're all looking down all of a sudden. They would probably say annoying.
Annoying. Okay. How about you, Matt? What would your team say about you?
Psychopathic? I don't know. I'm sure they have more than one word for me. Expletive, 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 psychopath.
How about you, Rusty?
Scary.
Scary. Okay. Wow. Psychopaths. Scary. Annoying. Doesn't everybody want to work with CIOs on their AI initiatives? Like, that sounds like a wonderful, wonderful place to work. I want to thank our panel. You guys have been wonderful. You've done a great job kind of giving us insight into the things we need to think about as we're working with you all on how to build the intelligent health system. I think we've probably got a lot of work to go still, especially on the intelligence side, as Rusty started the conversation with. But thank you very much for your time.
and it was a pleasure.
Thank you for being
for
an
having us.
amazing host.